A modern commercial ship operates as a heavily isolated, high-stakes micro-society. Unlike a standard industrial site, the crew shares a total environment where professional duties and domestic life are inseparable. To staff these massive vessels, the maritime industry relies entirely on globalized labor pools. This creates high levels of cultural diversity, defined strictly as the presence of different groups with distinct races, religions, languages, and traditions occupying the exact same space. This introduces a distinct operational paradox. The economic efficiency of globalized labor frequently clashes with the physical friction of the crew's proximity. Unmanaged diversity generates highly specific friction points, such as communication barriers and differing cultural norms. These failures create a direct path to severe safety hazards and maritime security breaches. Physical proximity, combined with high-stress operations, amplifies risk. Without an active management strategy, a diverse crew is inherently unstable. Shipping organizations must engineer a standardized protocol to neutralize these environmental risks. That protocol requires building multicultural diversity competency. This is the active ability to show respect and understanding, to communicate effectively, and to work seamlessly with people from different backgrounds. This competency is not a default human trait. It is a complex, mechanical skill set that must be deliberately instilled in every crew member. The mechanism organizations use to build this competency is known as cross-cultural training. This training directly addresses how a person's national culture dictates their individual working style. It maps out exactly how decision-making processes vary from one region to another, allowing crew members to predict rather than react to different approaches. It also aligns conflicting perceptions regarding the roles of management and leadership, ensuring a unified chain of command. Cross-cultural training serves as the operational bridge, converting a fragmented, hazardous collection of individuals into a secure, cohesive unit. We can observe this conversion by looking at empirical data. This comparative matrix tracks the operational dimensions of untrained control groups against crews that have received cross-cultural training. Starting with the connectivity dimension, the baseline state for an untrained crew is systemic isolation. Members experience immediate integration problems, forming silos based on language or shared background. By applying training, this baseline shifts to yield significantly greater team integration across the board. This connectivity directly impacts the communication dimension. The untrained operational state is defined by chronic misinterpretation. Orders are heard, but the intent is lost. Trained crews possess the frameworks to achieve superior interpretation of those identical messages, bridging linguistic divides accurately. When communication fails, the immediate and dangerous output is conflict. Implementing proactive conflict management frameworks measurably reduces this friction, dropping the overall conflict potential. Without cross-cultural training, baseline communication failures inevitably produce systemic operational conflict. Looking at the internal psychological dynamics on the lower half of the matrix, the data points clearly track the emotional reality of the crew. Systemic distrust is the default, unmanaged baseline. Training replaces this inherent friction with psychological flexibility and mutual trust. This lack of trust is directly responsible for the engagement gap seen in the participation dimension. When individuals feel culturally isolated, their participation drops, severely limiting the team's total capacity. This isolation is rooted in ethnocentrism, the psychological reflex to evaluate all other cultures strictly by the standards of one's own. Training actively unwires ethnocentrism, engineering increased tolerance and an appreciation for differing methodologies. These internal psychological markers determine the final metrics: overall performance and task orientation. Elevated trust and tolerance enable superior concentration on specific tasks, yielding a measurable increase in total operational output. Moving a crew from that untrained baseline to the trained ideal requires the installation of specific individual skills. The foundational behavioral requirement is establishing a fair, objective attitude toward people of differing cultures. Officers must develop the strict operational ability to manage, cooperate with, and lead across multiple nationalities simultaneously. This demands self-cultural awareness, You have to understand your own biases before you can recognize external cultural dynamics. Subordinates, in turn, must build the capacity to learn from and effectively follow orders issued through diverse leadership styles. Furthermore, every member needs the capacity to anticipate and manage the psychological stress that naturally results from multicultural situations. Supporting these skills requires specialized training topics, including formalized conflict management and clear strategies for living inside a multinational onboard environment. This specific skill stack forms a mandatory defensive layer, shielding the operation from the inherent environmental stresses of the maritime industry. Zooming out to the macro perspective, we see an optimized shipping operation. Deliberately managed cultural diversity transitions from a critical safety liability into a profound organizational asset. This yields enhanced economic performance, driven by a workforce operating seamlessly within globalization. Second, the organization gains increased agility, allowing it to adapt effortlessly to global demographic shifts and labor market changes. This agility results in higher levels of creative problem-solving within the team. Ultimately, this diverse creativity yields a far superior innovation potential when compared to homogeneous, untrained crews. The trajectory is clear. An unmanaged global workforce generates friction and risk, but deliberate education bridges that gap to optimize output. Cross-cultural training provides the necessary technical framework to ensure safety and operational efficiency in a global